All right, this is take 2, and I changed the title on my first video to Having a Singer Sewing Machine. So anyway, here we are back to do the sew along for Butterick 5506. Again, this is a pattern from 1998, so it may not be available anymore, but they probably have something similar. So yes, Safi, I got your messages. Thank you. So we'll see how this goes. I'm kind of disappointed in my internet because it doesn't seem to want to do right these days, but I realize I'm not the only one having problems. I know Janet Nash has had problems with it too. So if I start buffering, just let me know, and we might have to do this another time. But anyway, let's just jump in. We got machine threaded. We're going to look at the instructions. I did want to go over a few things about your instructions on your patterns. If you take the first sheet of any pattern, which I know I have all the sheets. There it is. But if you take page 1, it's got all the really important information on it. It gives you the layouts on how to lay out the pattern pieces onto your fabric for each piece that you want to make, for the curtains and all of that. It also tells you, it gives you the guide for whether the fabric side needs to be up or the inside of the fabric needs to be up. Wrong side of pattern, right side of fabric, wrong side of fabric, right side of pattern. It gives you all of that. Tells you whether you need to cut it at a single thickness or a double thickness. The grain line marks are the arrows on the pattern pieces. Arrows that look like a parentheses, that's where you place on the fold. Yeah, it gives you all of that information. That's all the cutting information. And then over here, they'll have a glossary. It'll tell you what different things mean as far as grading seams, trimming the corners, notching your curves, or clipping your inner curves. So you get all of that. And I was looking to see if it said the seam allowance. It should, somewhere here, tell you the seam allowance, which generally on what they call a big 4, and to me a big 4 is Vogue, Butterick, McCall's, Simplicity. That's big 4. New Look is not part of that in my mind, and none of those others, that the big 4 pattern companies, which have all merged to Simplicity now, I think. But anyway, generally the seam allowance is 5/8 of an inch. Now, on your pattern pieces, sometimes they'll say this seam allowance is 3/8 of an inch. So you have to look at your pattern pieces and see if they have any notations. They do not make it supremely easy to do. Yeah, we're going to look at the sewing instructions in just a minute. I'm just looking to see if there's any notations. I'm just kind of glancing over the pattern pieces. And again, these have been cut and folded up for a long time, so I may have to iron them. And I've got my ironing pad here, not my ironing board, so I can iron it. Let's look at this. All right, so there's no notations as to the fact that maybe there's a different size seam allowance. So I'm going with the 5/8 of an inch. Now I wanted to show you, see this little piece of tape I have right here? I've got it lined up with the 5/8 inch mark because with my older eyes, I have trouble seeing that. So I just lined a piece of painter's tape up, and I just make my pieces go right along that when I'm sewing. There are gadgets that on one of my machines, it's got a place that you screw this little gadget, like diverter type thing, and it just puts up an edge right there, and you just sew right along and push your fabric up against it. This one doesn't have that option. So And I did try a magnetic one, but it doesn't hold on here, so I gave up on that. So again, the ever-growing pincushion from finishing these whips is getting fuller and fuller, and we've got to put some more in. So let's pull our instructions out. We'll take a step back here. We are making the sewing machine cover. So that's the wall organizer, the ironing board cover, pressing mitt, which I've never used a pressing mitt. All right, so this looks like sewing machine cover here. So I know the start of this is right here. And what they want us to do, with right sides together, pin the ends of your continuous bias together, matching your symbols stitch. Note edges will not be even at ends of seam. So we're gonna put this together. So we're sewing a bias seam, but I have to mark these lines real quick on that piece, which is right here. Before I take my pattern completely away, I'm going to mark these lines that are on here because that's what we're going to stitch on. And you'll see that the grain line is at a 45 degree. I need to bring you guys down because this is going to be too much to lift this up. There we go. And you'll see also that what we're going to do is we're going to sew along this line, starting where it is right here. We'll sew along this line, come up here and stop at this diamond right there. Then we're going to do this line and from the edge over to that diamond. So we're not going the full width of this. We're going to make like almost a zigzag on it. So I need to mark this, but I need to do some pressing. So give me a minute, and I'm going to have to press this piece nice and flat. I don't know how I'm going to be able to show you that I'm marking this. I don't have a lot of room over here, but I'm just taking pins out. There's nothing magic to see. Yeah, I got the message from Safia. I do have my notifications turned off from 10 to 7. Since Mary Lou mentioned that in Craft and Chat, I was like, there's got to be a setting so that you guys aren't disturbing Scott in the middle of the night, because it's been an issue. So I got that figured out so my phone doesn't make noise between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. I'm going to just iron this sections of fabric. There's two layers here. Hi, Ruth. Good morning. And I got my iron and my wool ironing mat over here. I've never used it like this, so we'll see. I know that's what it's made for, but I generally have my ironing board out. I may have to go over to my big table and be off screen, but I'm going to tell you what I'm doing as I do it. All right. So I've got, this is all ironed. Good enough. We'll put it that way. So I'm just going to, let's see, I got it the wrong way. Got to match the pattern back up. Maybe I got it upside down. I don't know. There we go. I'm making my way here. All right. So I'm going to go over to my table. I'm going to kind of pin this sort of back on here. And then I'm going to mark this notch, which I haven't done yet. I'll just take a little snip right there and then a little snip at this notch. And then I'm going to use my quilt ruler to draw these lines that are on here with some chalk. And also I'll put a little mark where these diamonds are. And we'll see what happens. Actually, that's a cutting line. let's go back here. That's a cutting line. So I bet I'm going to sew to either side of that, on one side of it. Let's look at this. Let's not jump ahead because thinking we know what we're doing. Let's see. The first thing we're going to do is sew the ends together. How many of these was I supposed to cut? Cut 2. All right. It says here, I have 2 of those, and I'm going to sew them to the ends like this, matching those 2 notches. So I'll come back to sew this, but I'm going to go ahead and get it pinned the way it needs to go. And you'll note that it is at a diagonal there. And so you'll have some fabric that hangs off the top up there on that side of it, and then some that hangs off the bottom here. We're making continuous bias tape. So basically, I'm going to mark the cutting lines. I'm not marking stitching lines. Okay, so that is why it's important to always verify what you're doing. So I need to mark those cutting lines right now. And then we'll just stitch the 2 ends together, and then we'll cut it out. Okay, so let me go over here and mark these cutting lines. I hate that I have to go off camera to do it, but it's the space I have. I'm just going to measure it and use my quilt ruler, this quilt ruler, with a piece of chalk, which I have wedges of chalk. See if I can grab a white one, because that'll show up really good. And of course I get red and blue, but not the white. Oh, yellow will work. I'll be able to see yellow. Hang on. I gotta snip those little triangles or mark them or something here. And then the lines are 2 inches from the edge. So I would say 4 inches and then 2 inches. Oh, that didn't do too hot. I will eventually get a better setup to do this kind of thing. I'm sorry. Oh. I'm going to bring this over there so I can show you how I mark these. You can also make continuous bias with a 10-inch square of fabric too. There are tutorials on YouTube to do that. And I better not mess this up because I don't have any more of this fabric. Cut a second one out. Let me lay this pattern piece back on here because I want to note where those two diamond things are. I'm going to turn it over and mark the other one. I'm just marking them because it's a mark, and I want to make sure I have all the markings. Because you never know when you're going to need all the little markings. All right. So here we go. Okay. So I took my ruler and I marked these lines and the marks. So now I can see them. Ta-da! So now what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these, because there's two here, pull it apart. All right, so we've got a little notch along here somewhere, right here. So that little notch that I cut there is going to match the little notch over here somewhere. And I got to look at the picture to make sure I'm doing this right. It keeps folding up on me where I can't find the instructions. So I take this, lay this down here, and then turn this like this, because I want the same side of the fabric up against it. And here's my other notch, and it's actually going to match this notch here somewhere right there. So that's the first thing you need to do, is match those two notches. Oh, I'm sorry, Safia. Uh-oh. Two of my pins just lost their heads. Or no, those were beads that came off something somebody had made me. Good, they rolled down. So I'm going to put a pin in right where those two little notches are together. And then I'm going to pin this along this edge here. This is going to look weird to you, but I promise you it'll be all right. And then we just gently line the rest of the seam up. So it's going to look weird. You'll think, oh, that's not right. But what we're doing is a bias seam. So it's a 45-degree seam, and we're doing it across the entire way here. And I did put the little marks on there. So they actually would match up too, it looks like. So then we'd stitch that seam at the 5/8 inch. So I'm going to get up here. I'm only going to start sewing where that line is, because the rest of this is going to get cut away. You'll see in a minute. So let's see. Oops, I'm getting all askew here. Really didn't need to go that far. I'm going to tell you why I didn't need to go that far. Let's get some scissors, because we're going to cut on that line. I didn't need to come down this far. You really only need to stitch between the lines along here. So now what you're going to do, and I do have the other piece I have to do as well, but I'm going to get us started here. We're not going to cut through all the layers, okay? We're going to cut on the line. So I'm going to start cutting here. And you're just going to cut along this line. Oh, that didn't line up. That's not good. See, these are supposed to line up. That's not good. All right, lesson here is don't do that. All right, I'm going to mess that up. But it's still a 2-inch cut, so I'm just going to cut this here down to the seam so I don't lose this piece of binding. And lesson is you got to line up the lines as well as the slots. All right, and then I'm going to turn this over here. I messed this first one up. I'm doing it live, so you'll see that you do mess things up. Is it buffering again, or that was earlier? That was earlier. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I'm not buffering again. I'm going to go ahead and take the seams out. And I bet I've cut this too thin. No? It's just off. It should be continuous. It should just keep going. Let's see here. I'll fix this. So on the next one, we won't mess it up. I hope. I hope. All right, so I should be able to cut this away now. The idea is the lines would line up and you just keep cutting it in a circle And that way, when you get done, you have one long continuous strip. And I messed up that little bit up, which means I messed the top part up too. So I'm going to end up having to sew these pieces together by hand anyway. All right. Almost there. I just need to bring this loose. There. Okay. Yeah, I messed that up. This seam ripper is from when I was in 7th grade, so it's not the sharpest in the world, but so if you're here and you don't like someone to show their mistakes, I'm sorry, but mistakes happen and you can fix them as long as you don't freak out. It's not the end of the world. It can be fixed. So what I'm going to do is put this back down here. And line this back up. Like so. And it'll be a little bit longer, I think. Might have to cut some more of this free to be able to line it back up. So I will be more careful when I line these up again. So that. That'll work. All right, let me sew this real quick along here. And I'm sewing at a 45 from one edge over to the other. We'll see if I can fix it. I may have lost a little bit of length. We'll just put that away. And then when I fold this back, it's continuous. Close enough. Close enough for government work, right? So I fixed my boo-boo. Easy peasy. But the next one I'm hoping we'll do right so we don't have to have a boo-boo again. I don't know if I'll have to fix the other end or not, probably. Yep, I'm gonna have to fix this end too. So we got to take it apart so we can move this over. That'll be all right. I like to show mistakes because we all make them, especially when we're learning or haven't done a technique in a while. Don't beat yourself up over mistakes because they do happen. Okay, you mark the seam allowance on the edge. Okay, that's a good idea. Okay, I can do that real quick. So on either end where we're putting them together, you just put your 5/8 inch mark along there. I want to make sure I'm understanding you, Ruth. I think that's what you're saying. Yeah. Okay, thanks. It's been more than a minute since I've made the continuous bias. So yeah, I knew I was going to make some mistakes, and I'm sure there's going to be somebody in the comments that, you know, wants to say how awful it is that I'm showing mistakes. But I also want to show that you can come back from mistakes and, you know, fix them. Not all mistakes are final. Now, if you're an asshole continuously, you might burn some bridges. I need to finish cutting this piece apart right here. All right, then we got to put these two back together so that they match a bit. Okay, and then I'll sew these. And on the other one, we'll do like Ruth said and mark that 5/8 inch seam. This little lever up here makes my machine go in reverse, if anybody's wondering why I'm pressing on that, because I want to lock the stitches in place. So now we'll do the other one and see if we can make it do it correctly. And I like Ruth's tip, so we're going to use that. So I'll press that seam and see, then it'll be a continuous bias piece. So this is on the bias. It's a little off, but I think I can make this work. So we don't need that little point that's hanging on right here. So see, it's all one long piece now. Wouldn't be fun without your mistakes. Right. All right. So what Ruth is saying is mark where you need to put your seams. So I'm going to move the pieces out of the way real quick. Let's see if we can do this here. I got my chalk here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, oh, this ruler is intense. 5/8 of an inch. I need you guys to step back a little because I ain't got much room. So that's a half. So this would be 5/8. This is going to be all backwards for me. So that's at the 5/8. So if I take my chalk and I just go zoop, there. And there. I can bring these together, find those little notches. There's one, and the other one's here. I'll get that notch pinned, and then I'll try to line up the other things. All right. So I was thinking if I put a pin in where that little diamond was on here, that might help too. So the notch is a little off, I think. Then let's see if my seam allowances are matching up that I just marked. They look like they're matching up pretty good. Sometimes it takes a village, right? Let's see here. Let me turn this over and see if I'm matching up here. It looks like I am. That's a great tip. Right? So now before I stitch this, I'm going to look and see if my lines are matching up. And see, I only need to stitch from that line down here to this line. I don't know if that's matching either. I think I've gone the wrong way. Hold, please. I'm taking my time with pinning it this time before I get too crazy with sewing it. See, I think that those two should match, but maybe not. So the first one should be totally free, right? So if they were matching, they'd be like this. This is going to turn this way. So that would be free. Oh, now my brain is doing itself in. Give me a minute, guys. This is tricky to do. Ruth's probably going, trying to do continuous bias tape, Angie. All right. That notch is there. This notch is here. So if I match those two notches up, like so, that's where the Hi, Piper. So the seam allowance is matching up just fine. Let's see. Hi, Piper. Hey, girlfriend. What's the matter? My little portly little granddaughter cat. She says. My lines aren't matching up though. So when I lay this bring this out. See how far off that is? What am I doing wrong? This needs to come over to that one. I think my notches are in the wrong place. Give me a minute. I'm going to match this here with this cross section here, and then line up the two seam allowances. Man, this is going to have to be washed when I get it done. It's got cat hair out the laundry on it. I do wash everything that I make. I think my notches are just clipped in the wrong place. Give me just a sec. Let's do a pin here. Because this really is magic if you get those lines in the right place. So now if I peek here, they're matching up. And then this goes here. All right, so that'll be where I start cutting. So I'm not going to sew above that and then stop right somewhere along here. And so when I open this up, see, the lines are still off. What am I doing wrong? Their lines have to match up. This line needs to continue into that line. I will get this. It's an ironing board cover, yes. No, it's not. It's a sewing machine cover. Son of a window maker. Oh, I'm getting closer. There. I didn't know I was going to spend all this time on how to make bias tape. All right, I'm going to sew it, and we're going to see if I've messed it up again. No, it's just a little sewing machine cover. All right. You're not bad, Ann. It's all right. All right. Ooh. Don't know what I'll do in the stitch hour today. I hope this is right. We'll find out. All right. Do you think I did it right that time? Probably not. But it'd be nice if I did. All right. So we're going to start cutting here. And just follow it around. You guys can see me cutting. Good. I was hoping to be dressed when I was doing this, but I said, well, we can sew in PJs this morning because I'm just not going to let you all see how wild my hair is at this moment. I need to go get it cut maybe next week for my birthday. I'll go get my hair cut for my birthday. Yep. On the 8th, I turn over one digit over 60. Please be right when you get over here. Okay. Oh, it's not going to be right. Dang nabbit. It's okay. We know how to fix it. We know how to fix it. Generally, if you get it lined up right, you can just keep cutting straight on the line. Apparently, I need more practice. But luckily, I know how to unmess myself here. And it's easier for me to fix it while I'm right here than it is to doesn't help. It's navy on navy. Very hard to see. I will tackle this bias tape. I almost feel like the 10-inch square is easier than this. I don't remember having all this trouble with the 10-inch square method. Okay. So I know that's where I need to stop. I'll get it someday. Well, I don't want it to have a straight edge. There's a reason people use bias tape. Bias actually lasts longer than a straight edge because the threads are at an angle, so they don't just come apart as easy. So sorry I'm making y'all struggle in my brain. The struggle is real. And I can fix it. See, no matter how careful I am, I still mess it up. Quilters that have done it a bazillion times can nearly probably do it in their sleep. But I have not. Oh, golly. That one. Oh, man. I started cutting from the wrong end, too. Didn't I? I'm not giving up, though, because we got to have this bias tape. So if you want a pro on doing the continuous bias tape, I suggest looking up a quilter's channel. I knew this was going to be the part that tripped me up this morning. I knew it. It's getting these to line up perfect is difficult. All right. So there's one, but you see, it's not right because I'm way off here. So I need to slide one over one way or the other and then stitch them back together. So it is one continuous, but it's off. So that's not going to work for me. And let's see. After I get done messing with this, we're going to, with wrong sides together, fold the bias strip in half lengthwise and press lightly to form binding open out the strip and then press the two edges. So basically, I wonder if I have the tool to do this. I have bias tape makers, which we might save ourselves a lot of pressing time by using. So I don't know what size this makes. It's a 2-inch strip. So which side a double fold bias will that work down to? Is that a 1/2 inch? I think it is a 1/2 inch. If it's a 2-inch strip, fold it in. So you fold it in half. Yeah, it'll be a 1/2 inch. So we will get out the bias tape maker thingamabobs and use those. All right, so now that edge there. No, that edge. And we'll put a pin in and we'll see, does it lay good when it needs to come down a little bit more. Or maybe it needed to go up. Let's see. No, that looks pretty good. All right. We'll fix this one and then we'll fix the next one. It'll work. It'll be fine. That's much better. See how it keeps going? And I'm going to press this. I'm going to press it open so it's easier to go through my thing. But I've got to fix this other one too, don't I? Yeah. See how far off that is? How it doesn't go in a straight line? One day I will get it so that all of this is done beforehand. Okay, come on. Oh, you have a lot to get done today, Angie? I did my laundry and cleaned the sheets yesterday. I don't have quite as much to do today. It would help if I had a seam ripper from this era. So I wasn't quite on the line either. Continuous bias tape. Yes. Or you know what you can do? Is you can just skip the whole making of it and just buy your bias tape. Oh. Feeling a little poorly all of a sudden. Ooh. Scott was saying his stomach was bothering him. Sometimes I think my body's just sympathetic and just feels everybody else's feels. Let's see here. So if I pin this, when I fold it back out, it's going to be not right. Close enough. I will cheat with my bias tape makers if I can find them. That would stink if I can't find them. All this to make bias tape. We've been at this, what, an hour? All right, good enough. We're going to call it good enough. I'm going to gently press these open. And there goes Piper. Boop, 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 boop.
She said that I need to wake up in the middle of the night multiple times.
Oh, these are in metric. So if I need a 1/2 inch, I have a 12 and 18. That one's, it's either one of these. All right. I think it's this one. All right. You don't think that would be as much fun? Well, I think we've tackled this bias tape for this morning. I'm going to turn you guys and see if I can show you. I'm going to attempt to use something I've rarely used. So if I make a mistake, bear with me. Don't be a jerk. All right. I'm just going to set that piece aside. First thing I need to do is I want to iron this bit. Let's turn the kitchen light on. See if that additional lighting would help us. I want to open my seams flat like this. So I'm just going to open them up and iron them flat. And then I might trim, I'm going to trim the dog ears off. Okay. I'm going to trim this one. Does anybody belong to the National Sewing Guild? I don't think anybody here is into sewing for, garments and that kind of thing. And Ruth is in Canada, and Heather's in Canada. And somebody had mentioned that. I doubt there's a chapter in South Carolina because craft stuff and sewing and stuff doesn't seem to be as predominant in the South as it is in other places. All right. That one's still a little janky, but you know what? I'm going to go with it. I'm going to just trim the dog ears off and see if I can make this work. And this is how little triangles of fabric end up in our bed because they stick to my slipper socks. And then I go climb in bed. So Scott's like, where's all this fabric coming from? I don't know. I have no idea. Huh? All right. And then he just laughs because he knows. He knows. So yes, you can make your own bias tape, which is, if you learn it, it's really good because then you can make matching bias tape to go with your projects. Now this one I fixed so much better. This one's going to go through easy. All right. So the reason you have these points is so you can feed it through this jibber jobber. So you put the point in first, and you have to have some kind of tool. Probably that seam ripper I just had would work. How do you lose something you just had, Becky? I don't know. I don't know. Holy macaroni. There it is. And there's a little slot in the top of this little device. What you're going to do is feed that point in there and then just kind of feed the fabric through until you start seeing the fabric down here. And there you go. And then you're just going to slowly pull this through. All right. This might be too small for that much fabric. Maybe I need that bigger one. The 18. Let's see. Let's try again. Put this in there. And we'll just work that fabric. Oh yeah, that's going to be much better. All right, so now what we're going to do is get this over here and put the iron down. This is just, the ironing pad is not working for me. No, this is only making, this isn't, well, screw those. Sorry. We're going to do it the way they say to. We're going to fold it in half. This is the kind of thing people don't understand when you go to buy somebody's handwork, and people they're asking a good chunk of change. Well, it's hours of their work, and when you're saying you're not willing to pay for something, it's just like telling the artist, the creator, that you don't value their time. So that's why I have trouble charging what I should for things, because I feel like nobody's going to pay for it anyway. So that's why I don't like to sell stuff. All this kind of thing really eats into the time. You'll see, once we get this bias tape made, the rest of the sewing machine cover won't take long. It's a bunch of long, mostly straight seams. But if you're making your own bias tape, I would suggest do the bias tape one day, take you a break, let your brain rest, and then go on to the rest. But we're going to keep working. I really would love to have this done before Janet comes on, but I'm not promising anything. I'm just folding this edge to edge. And then what you do after you get it edge to edge, you open it up and you fold the two sides to the fold you created this time. And then you have your bias tape is ready to go. Those little things really can help. It's just, apparently I need practice with those too. They make it look so easy. Uh-oh, got a little wonky here. Let's try this, fix this here. All right. So yes, it takes time. Hi, Giovanna. You know, they don't. They don't. So I'm going to fold. I don't know. You can't see. I'm going to fold the two sides in. You might catch a glimpse of my crazy hair. I'm sorry I have to move this camera. It's the only one I have. Hey, Deb. So now I'm going to fold the two edges toward the fold. And we'll give that a press. See, all of this takes time. But this is the same way they make quilt binding. So, and if you see the cat hair, I'm sorry. I do have 5 cats live in this house. We do have an old Cocker Spaniel too, but she's just kind of there. She ain't got any teeth. She's deaf, nearly blind, totally blind. Right now she's outside patrolling around and around her doghouse, I'm sure. I'll bring her in a little bit to eat her breakfast, and then she'll go back outside for a little while. Then I'll bring her in for her old lady nap. That's what I call it. She comes in and sleeps in her crate. And I'm sorry you guys can't really see with the beans. I keep moving the camera thinking I'll get a better angle for you. But I'm just pushing the two sides toward the folded center. And hitting it. And I'm not pushing it around. I'm just setting the iron down. That's where people that do quilts learn to not do that. You don't push the iron around, because what you end up doing is warping all your bias cuts. It's more of a set the iron down and lift it up. Because when you're quilting, you can't do the whole ironing like this, because you'll warp those bias areas, and then you'll end up with a block that looks like an ocean under a storm. And it's not a good look, and it makes it really difficult for the long arm quilters to quilt your piece. I have a friend that's a long arm quilter, and she always dreads when a quilt comes in that looks like a rockin' ocean, because it's nigh on impossible to get it set up in a long arm machine. Just saying. Oh, you got 3 puppies? Oh my gosh. I bet it's loud around there. Or somebody's got a loud house. I don't know if it's someone at your house or not, Giovanna. Ooh. Too many puppies. I'm more of a cat person. They're quiet. I'm quiet. Dogs barking set my nerves off, so I need a quiet pet. The only one that's not quiet is my son's cat, Cole. Oh my God. Well, y'all heard him in the beginning of that other video that failed. I promise we are making a sewing machine cover this morning. I just have to get through this bias tape making process. It's bad as we have another whole strip we have to do this to. So, talking about pricing of things, the two little dresses with matching jackets, they each, if I count the time, not just the sewing time, but the cutting the pattern out, cutting the fabric out, cutting the lining out, cutting the interfacing out, applying the interfacing, everything it took to do those dresses, I probably have about, I don't know, 30 hours maybe in it, maybe less, even 20 hours. If I charged $10 an hour, you do the math. There's no way anybody would pay that for one of those dresses, let alone dress, fully lined bodice, fully lined jacket. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess it boils down to I just have to donate my time and hope I can recover the cost of the materials. That just doesn't sound very worthwhile to me. Ow! This little booger, this iron, it's a Black & Decker, picked it up at Walmart or Wall Hell, whatever you want to call it. I call it Wall Hell. But it will burn you when it's putting the steam out, that's for sure. And made by Pam, she said don't leave it down at all because it'll burn a hole straight through anything you're working on. So it was cheap. It works. I just have to be careful because it does throw out the steam. And after a Rowenta or two croaking within like limited amount, there's no way I'm spending that much money on an iron. I'm sorry, I'm just not. I'll just use more care with something of lesser known wonderfulness and be happy with it. I don't like to spend a lot of money. That's why I go thrifting. I love to go thrifting. Haven't been finding very much lately though. I got to also remember this wool pad, it stays hot longer than my ironing board. So it's still hot right now. And again, I'm not used to using it. I've pulled out all my new toys just for y'all. I'm trying to use all my new toys. Actually, they're not new. Some of this stuff I've had for years. All right, it says, yep, we're going to fold these in like this. And then you fold it back on the original fold. So it's a double fold. People say, no, that's 3 times you folded it. But it's called a double fold bias tape. When it's flat like this and the 2 sides are folded in, that's single fold bias tape. That's the differences. I'm losing my original fold a bit here. Started watching a movie last night and it was just too weird. So I gave up on it. So then I started another one and it was pretty weird. And can I remember the title? No, of course not. I hadn't invested enough in it to want to keep the titles in mind. So I can't warn you off from them. I don't know if one was actually the beginning of a new show, but the acting was horrible. It was awful. And the second one, I just stopped watching because Anne came on, but it was still pretty bad. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop making bias tape for right now, and we're going to go on to the next step after I get this one done, and I can make the rest of it later on. Good morning, New York Beauty. How are you? Sorry, can't remember your name. I think it's Mike. Is it Mike? Don't know. Can't remember. Sorry. So anyway, we've made some bias tape. You've watched me burn my fingers, oh so many times. And I'm trying to give some basic sewing and quilting type information as I go. If you're new here, I am a Jane of all trades. You don't know what you might find on my channel. I am not one that sticks with just one, because that's just not me. To keep my brain and soul happy, I have to jump between things. Sometimes I'll go all in with quilting. Sometimes it's sewing, like right now. And when I start getting bored of that, I switch to something else. See, I was right. I did remember. All right, so now you're going to bring them back together on the original fold and press again. And there, you've made the bias tape that you buy at the store. And the beauty of, like I said, of making your own bias, it is time consuming, but you can make your bias tape match anything. Like you could buy enough fabric to do your own bias tape or quilt binding for a quilt. So like maybe you want your main fabric to be featured as your binding as well. Just buy an extra little bit and you can make bias tape yourself. Of course, you'd make it wider for a quilt because you got to take into account the top, the back, and the batting. I bet Safia had to go and do lunch and next lessons with her kids. And I will see Safia later. And I'm hoping I don't eat into Janet Nash's time. I'm trying to, because it's already 8 o'clock and all we've done is made bias tape. Since 6:30, we've made bias tape. I am so sorry. But the struggle is real. I don't know if you guys want me to break this up into parts or just keep going. Let me know. Do you want me just to keep going with this project, or would you rather I do another short session? Short. It's over an hour already, Becky. But what I could do is I could go ahead and do the bias tape off camera, the other piece, and then come back. But I'm leaving that up to you. I can keep going, and we'll just do this sewing thing. Because keep going, Ann says. So this sewing machine cover is probably been cut out since 1998. So if you've got old projects, it's never too late. It's never too late. Don't give up on them. They have a right to live. You wanted them to live at one point. Now I'm getting crazy. Anyway, I'm wondering if my son is fallen back asleep. He's supposed to. Oh, he'll be leaving shortly. All right, this is, Why are you coming undone, you booger? Anyway, this is the bias tape. All made up. Looks like store-bought. Kind of. Right here, it's like it messed up. But we can fix that with a little bit more pressure. And again, it's a lift and set down motion, not an ironing motion, because we are dealing with bias here. All right. So I will make some more bias tape. After a while, I need a break from it. And we've got another whole strip just like that one. So I'm going to bring you back over to the other side of the table. Try not to show you my freaky hair. All right. And it is sewing in your PJs day. I'm going to pull my tray all the way out. There we go. I've got bits of fabric. My husband will be fussing about, you did something in navy today. All right. So we did the bias tape. I'm going to go ahead and fold this pattern piece up. And I'm kind of a weirdo. I like to fold my pattern pieces nice and neat so that my patterns generally look like maybe they've never been cut, even then when they have been. And I slide this back in the envelope. That way I don't lose my pieces. Watching someone pull patterns out that are just balled together, it just makes me cringe. All right, so we did some bias tape. So we're gonna do the pocket now, which is piece 15, which is a little pocket. Whew, more pins to go in. I need to take a sip of this coffee though. My husband got this little cup out of somebody's trash. Isn't it darling? And I think it's real porcelain. So somebody didn't want it. And he brought it in and I'm like, oh, that's so pretty. I'll use it. My favorite thing to look for when thrifting is somebody else's pottery that I know takes a lot of work, because my sister is a potter and I have to rescue all the pottery that other people just cast aside. I have found an apple baking bowl, that has the little column that comes up in that you jab the cored apple on. I have one of those. My sister made me a berry bowl, and I just have so many wonderful things that my sister has made for me. All right, I'm going to iron this just so it's nice and smooth. And then it says we're going to, with wrong sides together, pin your pocket, fabric sections, and based pocket contrast sections together in the same manner. I don't have any contrast pieces, I don't think. Are there 4 pieces of fabric here? Again, this was cut out many, many years ago. Okay. All I have is this here. With wrong sides together, pin your pocket fabric sections together and baste them. So they want wrong sides together. So we're going to pull this apart, maybe, and put them wrong sides together. This is the right side. Getting ready to head out?
Yeah, just wish my cats hadn't kept me up most of the night.
Oh, well, you stayed off with your girlfriend, so your cats are like, we need time with you.
So I have to sleep. Piper's cutting up trying to make me stay home.
I bet she is. And you smell like Rachel's cats, so there's that too.
Jealousy.
Yep. All right. Let me just read a little bit of this because I'm not sure why I don't have any contrast pockets. I'm looking here because this is the front and the back. And I think this is a front and a back of, because you got to have fabric and contrast of that. And then the only other pieces I have are the sides of the fabric and the contrast. I don't have any other that's all I have. So let's see what they want me to do with this, and I might alter it, because if this is all I have, I might just do a turned pocket to stick on instead of doing whatever they're wanting me to do here. With wrong sides together, pin your pocket 15 fabric sections together and baste. Baste pocket 15 contrast sections together in the same manner. Encase the upper edge of each pocket and contrast pocket with binding. Stitch close to inner edge of binding. All right. Then it says, turn in your seam allowance on side edges of pockets and press. Pin pocket to front and back, matching large dots and centering inside placement lines. Stitch close to pressed edge, baste raw edges together. Prepare contrast pocket and front and back sections in the same manner. So apparently on piece number 16, we're supposed to put a pocket on the inside as well as the outside. Let's get piece 16 and see what it looks like again. That's 17. All right, this is 16. I don't think I've marked anything. One, two. All right, so this is the outside of it. This is the contrast. And this is where they want you to have the pocket. So let's take this off from here. I think they used a lot of bias tape, that because I did not cut a contrast pocket out, I'm not going to do one. So I am making a sewing machine cover from a old Butterick pattern here. So we're making this item right there. And I don't know why you would put a pocket on the inside of it. That's what's a little confusing to me. And I'm because I don't have the contrast, I'm only going to do one pocket on the outside of the cover, the part that looks like quilted. Oh, something, it's not liking this, is it? The camera is freaking out. So this was actually a printed fabric with the quilting on it that I picked up years ago. So I'm going to just iron my contrast pieces smooth. These are the linings. And apparently I'm supposed to have a pocket that matches these as well. And I'm also not going to put a pocket on the inside of it. So if I changed my mind and I wanted the contrast to be on the outside and the quilting on the inside, I could do that now. I mean, it's the same pattern piece, but I'm just going to make it up. And we'll put a navy pocket on the outside of it. And I'm not going to do it the way they said. So I'm gonna go rogue, and I'm going to only put a pocket on the piece that'll be on the outside. So that's piece number 16, contrast. This is another piece of 16 contrast. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do right sides together on the pocket and then turn it to the right, to, right sides back out. Yep, I'm going to. And then I'm just going to apply it there and not have the bias trim. I think the only place I'm actually going to use the bias trim is on the very bottom edge to, make it so it'll last longer. I think even just that one strip of already made bias will be enough. So I have some navy bias I can add to my stash, which it's nice to have some handmade bias tape leftovers because you can use them to edge the mug rugs. All right, so I just need to iron this other piece here. Yeah, my camera does not like the quilted look fabric. So this fabric was made in 1998. Yeah, you can use it for pot holders. I like to make mug rugs to give as gifts to like teachers or coworkers or, somebody that's still in the workforce to have on their desk. The mug rugs give you room enough for your mug and a little snacky. You can put a little snacky on it, and that way it doesn't sit on the table. It sits on your mug rug. And it's washable. So if something gets spilled on it, you can wash it. All right, so I'm going to make this pocket the way I usually make pockets. And I'm going to put the two fabrics right sides together and leave a little hole and turn them right side out and iron it really well and then put it in place. But while I've got this flat over here, let's see here. I'm going to turn you guys around again. Maybe, or bring you over here. Sorry, I have to do this. It's just the way it is, okay? I need the pattern piece. And what I'm going to do is going to set this on here. And I'm going to put a pin right there. And then I'll lift it up and put my pin back in. And then I'll flip it so it's face down from the other edge. Uh-oh. Here, pull this over here. And then if I put it face down, oh, my pin cushion, it just gets ever more full. This one was a purchase pin cushion. I have a pin cushion that I made that is hedgehog. I need this upside down on this side because it's the other side of it. And my hedgehog is missing. And when he's full of pins, he looks very much like a very handsome hedgehog. And I could mark this with a pen, but I'm just going to put a couple pins in here. And that is just to mark where the pocket's going to go. All right, so I'm just going to lift that up out of my fabric. So now I know where the pocket needs to go. And we are done with this. It does, well, maybe not. There is a mark right there. I think I will mark that with a marking pen in a minute. So these I had put wrong sides together. I'm going to put them back right sides together. And I'll go to the machine and I'm going to put a couple pins in here this way to tell me leave that open. And if you wanted a rounded bottom pocket, just go get you one of your plates out of the kitchen and lay it down and just curve the edge if you don't want a square pocket. And it kind of looks like this pocket would go all the way to the bottom. So you wouldn't have to stitch across it. And you would catch it in the bias that you're going to put around it. But I'm just going to make it the way I normally do. All right. Hope I'm not melting my camera cord. Back to the machine. All right, so I'm just gonna about a quarter inch stitch this from here around. So I'm just going to use the side of my presser foot. Needle in to do your turns. Actual sewing never takes as much time as the cutting, the pressing, all of that. All right. And now I'm going to cut the corners off to get rid of that bulk. Don't cut through your stitch line. Dog ears. And I know Janet Nash, she saves those and makes magical fabrics with them. Good morning, Joyce. Yeah, that pin cushion just gets fuller and fuller as I'm finishing these works in progress that I've had that tub for years. You guys don't know how thrilled I am to have those little dresses finished, though. I did throw them and the little pajamas into the washing machine. I need my little turner. There it is. I love this tool. This is like a favorite tool. So if you don't have one of these, when you're by a Joann's that's closing, grab one. I use it all the time. And when I can't find it, I have to use a chopstick. But I like this one because you can get into really tight corners. And it's got this part here that works around curves. It's a magical tool. This is so much easier to turn out than that rabbit was that I made. So I am working my way through whips, works in progress. And there's all kinds of things in there. And I'm hoping we can finish this up this morning. And then we can do a spin and see if we get, I think we have, there's a silky top, red like silky top in there. There's 2 more pairs of pajamas. There's a dragon. I think there's a teddy bear. What else is in there? Oh, my Christmas dress that I want to turn into a skirt that can actually be worn with the red top for next Christmas. Because the bodice on that dress has never really felt comfortable to me. But I thought, oh, that would make the cutest party skirt for at Christmas. So I just made basically a bean bag. Now, see, you could fill this with beans and you could play, what's that game they play where you throw the bean bags? What's that called? Cornhole. That's what it's called. That's it. They love to play cornhole around here. I'm going to iron this over here. You guys know how to iron. And I'm just going to iron this out. And then we'll bring this over here. Get it ironed nice and smooth. And see, I'm not going to worry about closing that hole up on that pocket because I'll catch it when I put it on the cover. And just like that, my house is really quiet. Cats are all sleeping. Greg's gone to work. So let's see. I'm going to see if I can do some of this over here. I just don't want that pattern pieces to get close to that iron because, you know, steam and pattern pieces don't mix. They'll shrink your pattern pieces, just letting you know. Steam is bad, bad. All right, so this goes this way. And I noted on that pattern that we need to put a little dot up here. And it looks like there's supposed to be a notch cut up here. Did I cut the notches already? I have not. So I'm just going to, or did I? It's hard to tell. Do a little snippety dip there. And you want these markings and the little triangles because they match up with the piece that goes on the sides. So you want those indicators where to line everything up. Now I try not to snip too far down in because I don't want to be in the middle of the seam allowance. So let's see here. It's showing that little flower is almost right in the center. So like right here is the center of the top here. And that probably needs to be marked on all of those pieces because I didn't do it before. I must have just wanted to get it cut out. All right, so I'm going to put the pocket on here. Joyce isn't boring. She just jokes about it. Well, I'm trying to figure out where the hole is that I turned it so I don't have it at the top. Is that it? Right? Yeah. I could have done better at getting this pushed out. Hang on just a minute. What the heck? There we go. All right, so that's be the bottom. All right, so we're going to line the pocket up where these pins are. And I will stitch this around. Let's go make it a little thick for the sewing machine, but supposedly this thing is supposed to sew through like 6 layers of denim or something like that. So we don't need those pins there anymore. And I'm just going to stitch this pocket on. And then I think we're going to attach this, let's see, the sides to it. So we'll have to go through and mark all of those markings that I did on this piece, on those other 3 pieces. All right, I've done something with the pattern now. The fun part's going to be pinning the sides on this because you've got to go around a curve. And I'm probably going to run out of bobbin before I get this. And I'm just kind of going close to the edge on this. Maybe. And I did forward and back stitch at the over the top edge of the pocket just to keep it from pulling when you put stuff in it. We're playing bobbin chicken. How far can we get on this project with that single bobbin? How far can we get? And this isn't one of those machines that tells me when the bobbin's running out. I can sew an entire seam and not notice that the bobbin has run out. So I might give this sewing machine cover to my sister so that she can cover her machine. It was kind of funny. The last time she came over and she brought her machine to sew with me, she had to clean her machine off because it had been in her pottery studio and it was coated in clay. She had to clean the whole machine. I was like, you really need a cover. So I'll stick this in with her birthday stuff that I have. So there's the side that'll go on the front of the machine like this. So let's mark those other places on all of these other pieces. And I think this would be easier if I put the top toward me. And we do the clip. I'll do a little snippety dip right here where that little triangle is. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark the center with this pen, which would be right about here. And then I got to do the other snippety dip on the other side. This is so much easier if you do all this marking before you unpin the pattern pieces. Just an FYI. And lately I have taken to going back to the old-fashioned method where I cut the little indicators so they stick out, because I was reading in a magazine you actually get a better finish when you do that. So I've taken that to heart and I have started doing that again. I love this fabric here. This is so cute. It's like a ditzy print. It would make a really cute blouse too. Little snippy dip. I wish I could find my gingers. My gingers and the hedgehog pincushion are hanging out together somewhere, and I don't know where. So right about in here. Here we need that more. And then I gotta flip this. I might have to get dressed and go get me a breakfast sandwich because I don't feel like cooking again this morning, but I'm hungry. I get up and I make my husband's breakfast. Yes, he's spoiled. Yes, he knows it, and he spoils me back. So that's how life should be. You should spoil your partner and they should spoil you back. That's all there is to it. Never look at what they have not done for you. Always be thankful for the things they do for you. And one of the reasons I'm so tolerant about the time it takes for projects to get done is Scott works hard outside the house. He works a full-time job in the day, and he teaches several semesters a year at the technical school, making pretty good money. So I try to do as much as I can around the house to balance it out. And no, we don't consider it women's work or men's work. We just consider it work that has to be done. And he makes the money and I keep the house running. So there's that. Yes, we do play traditional roles, but if I get sick or something, he steps up. I mean, he's awesome about stepping up. All right, so I've marked everything I need on this now. I'm going to go ahead and put this away. I like to hand out words of wisdom to young people because they're always talking about, well, she or he hasn't done this or that. And it's no. That's not how it's supposed to be. Life is better if you take care of one another. Angie had to go. I hope her eye is healing okay. She had eye surgery. And is that Barbara singing a song? Barbara, have you come up with the song for the 16 chickens on a trampoline? You working on it? I left a comment that those chickens should have multicolored striped toe socks, and they should maybe they should all wear lipstick too. I'm going to go ahead and mark this while it's pinned on here. That's the center. And looks like this is the side business. So we've got a mark right there, and I've got a mark right here. And we've got to clip. And if I do it while it's pinned, I can do both layers. There. And these will correspond with the marks that we did on the other piece. All right. So now I have more pins to put in here. Oh, Giovanna had to go. Bye. Thanks for stopping in. Ouch. Stabbed myself. Never a dull moment. And I'm sorry, I'm coming on at the same time as is it Lisa? Down in Georgia? I'm trying to learn everybody's names, but my head is like a sieve sometimes, so I'm sorry if I forget your name. After you've been around a while, I'll remember them. I need to check. I'm betting that Jacqueline sent a message to my the account we use for our PayPal, and that's actually my husband's email account. He gave me the information to get into it for this reason. I just gotta find where I put them. All right, this is going to be an issue because where's the fold? That's the fold. Okay. This says center fold. So what I need to do, put this back on here a little bit, and I'll just pin it in a couple places so I can put the snips in it and mark those center marks because you need those marks. You do. These aren't very sharp right at the tip. That's why I love my gingers, because those points on the gingers are very sharp. That one I might have snipped too far. Too late now. I'll put a little dot here. And one about here. All right. You'll see why those all are important here in just a sec. All right, so now we got to do the attaching of the sides. Shove this in the envelope. I might make the cover for my sleeve, wooden sleeve thing another time. All right, so instructions say, who knows? All right, we did the pocket. Now we're over here. Stitch side 17 to front and back sections. Prepare the contrast in the same way. So we need to pin. Let's get all the pieces that look like this here. And we'll attach one side at a time. So I've got this here. The center is there. And that will match the center at the top of this. So that's those two blue dots, that one and that one. They match up, like right here. Oh, Lala had to go. Bye, Lala. I know, Janet will be on shortly. I didn't want to eat into Janet's time. What I should have done is made up one batch of bias tape and then just kind of showed how to do it, sort of. All right, so I'm starting at the center here and working my way this way. So I've got a notch here. So they're a little off, and that could have been from where I had the things unpinned. That's why it's important. Do your marks before you unpin. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to match these up at the bottom edge here. Because we are going around a curve. All right, so I've got the top. Oh, I'm not even on here. Sorry. So I got from the center top over to the corner, and then I'm going to match up the bottom edge and then work toward each other, toward where I stopped on the top to get myself around this curve. And I'm not worrying about finishing the seams because all this is going to be encased in layers. So there's that. And on this curve, you kind of just have to work it. I'm surprised they didn't say to do a little easing gathering on this. Really am surprised. To get around the curve. All right, so I'm a little off, so I might adjust a little bit here. Move my pin a little. All right. Oh, I don't know, because that's going to put my... Let's start at the other side and see. See what happens here. So I'm going to attach this side, and then we'll attach the other side, and then we have to repeat this on the other and then one fits inside the other, and you baste them together, and then you put the bias tape over the edge, and it's done. From what I see, because there's only like 2 or 3 more directions on here. Whoops, got my arm in the pins. I am trying to finesse the curve a little bit here. When it's a straightaway, it's real easy, but when you're working on a curve of the fabric, you kind of have to get the fabric in a curved state itself. So like over the edge of your hand, or something like that. You know, so it's curved. And then you're just going to kind of ease this around. This is fiddly. Fiddly. All right, that I can make work. Now this, I need to work a little. Yes, I put pins in my mouth. Ooh. Right here, we might finesse this a little bit. All right, so that's pretty good. I'm going to stitch this at the 5/8 inch. And then we have to do it 3 more times, the same thing. So, like I said, this actual sewing doesn't take nearly as much time as getting it all pinned or cut out and all that stuff. Let me get my huge pin cushion over here. When you start to do the curve, you might want to go slower and then do some pivots. Got me. And I'm trying to keep the under fabric from folding and creating wrinkles. I'm going to leave the needle in it, and then I'm going to do some pivot so that I can get that under fabric to lay a little bit smoother. And then we'll do a few more stitches. And again, we'll do another little pivot. Try to get the curved edge to work in there. I hear you. Somebody's doodly-doing me. Hang on. Am I buffering again? That was what someone's trying to tell me. I don't want to stop sewing. That's why I'm not looking. I'll look here in just a minute. Probably telling me Janet's coming on. If you need a sewing machine cover, I'm going to say this again in case you missed it, and you can't get your hands on this old pattern, if you go to the link I have in the description box to Closet Core Patterns, they have a free sewing machine pattern tutorial. It's very good. And you can't get better than free, right? And you can adjust it to fit any sewing machine or serger. So you could make all your machine covers match. So you could be matchy-matchy. I prefer random crazy, but anyway. Ouch! Got me. Before I do the other side, I'm going to look and see if I got anything crazy going on underneath. It's getting hard to put the pins in. All right. So now let's see if I've done anything crazy on here. So I turn it right side out. We're just going to look. And I do have a little creasing on the curved corner. But some of that you can alleviate by snipping your curves. They probably even say that in the pattern. So that doesn't look too bad. I don't have any creases on the sides. That's where my main concern was. If I had ended up with any folds. There's a little one there, but I'm not going to worry about it. It's so tiny. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and clip the curves and call this side done. And then we'll do the other side. And I'm not even going to trim these corners. I mean, the seams. I'm not going to trim them. You can. It's going to be inside. So where the curve is, I'm just going to do some cuts. Maybe take a wedge out here and there like that. Just to get it to lay flat. To, but not through. Can't say that enough. Don't want to cut through the stitches. That's bad. That's bad. If I had felt like I had more time, I would like take my pinking shears and just go down around. But all of this is going to be between layers. So by doing that, when you turn it right side out, I just want to show you real quick on this one. I'm not going to do it on all of them. But when you turn it back right side out, now that curve lays nice and smooth around because you've taken out what's in its way to do the turn on the corners. Okay. So this is the sewing machine cover so far. So let's do the other side. You want to make one? Yeah, the free one, it does, I have it for this machine, and it does the pocket across the whole front, which I love because you can put an entire project in that pocket. All right, so now we got to do the other side. So let's get the other side of our long strip here, and we're going to match that center dot up here. So there's a dot there, and there's a dot here. We'll just put them next to each other like so. Get the edges lined up even, put that pin in. And then if we come over and we line our little clips, clippity dips, as we say, here. And line this one up over here. And I am probably an overuser of pins, but I'd rather have too many pins in there holding it in place than not enough. So then I can just put some pins in the top center. Because I know this is exactly where it needs to be. That's a little wonky cut. We're just going to leave it like that. And then I'm going to go down to the bottom and go ahead and pin the bottom edges together so that they match. And then I'll work my way up around. Thank you, Lala. Oh, who's sick? Somebody's sick. I got my Snoopy shirt that I sleep in. It says, "Not today." Maybe I should have taken the message and said, "Not today. That bias tape is going to kick your fanny." It's all right. We'll get it. All right, I want to get this curve in here. Working the curve. Maybe I'll pin one on this side. And then we'll, no, that pin probably needs to go in the trash. It's not very sharp. And we'll pin on this side. Curves are all about manipulation in that you kind of have to go in it from each of the sides. So do a little on one side and then come to the other side so that you can kind of work in that bit that feels like it's really too much fabric for that area. I'm going to go ahead and pin the other one off. Thank you, Lala. I appreciate it. Let's see, I'm going to kind of just work that in. And yeah, I got a few little wrinkly bubbles, but that's where the curve is being taken up. That's why I'm kind of surprised they didn't have me do some gathering ease. It wouldn't have been much, but it would have helped me get around the corner. Just saying. So technically, this will be reversible. So maybe that's why they were having me. I was supposed to put a pocket on the inside too. But again, I don't have any more of this fabric. So could still use it as a reversible cover, or my sister can. She can choose what side she wants out. Maybe she could use the pocket on the inside as a place to put her presser foot. I hadn't thought of that till just now. That would be an idea. I'm going to do the pinning, all of the pinning for the rest of the seams, so that I can just run them through the machine one after the other and get us to the finish quicker. And I won't use as much thread since I'm playing bobbin roulette here. Will I make it? Will I get done before this bobbin runs out? I have no unearthly idea. Probably not. But we'll see. And another thing is, it's all on the inside. So if I run out of bobbin, I could technically use one of those other bobbins. Like there's a black in there. I could probably use the black. Or I could even use, I think there's a cream color. Actually, there's not much left on that. I could fake it till I make it. I could use a light blue too. All right, so that's pinned, ready to go. But let's go ahead and pin the sides onto this one. Oh, thank you. Aw. Well, we appreciate each other. That's what's good. All right, so I didn't press this, so we'll see what luck we have. We're going to match those two center dots up first again. There's a center dot, and then I want to match up my little clippity dips over here. Oh, I've got to get something to eat. Feeling poorly. I had a piece of toast with jam and a cup of coffee. Apparently my stomach said, no, you need some protein. What I'd really love is a fruit. Some fruit. I have orange juice and orange and apples. Isn't it funny how we crave things like watermelon in the middle of the winter, where you have to pay like $10 for one watermelon or something crazy? Well, I'm all for just being a sharing of ideas. So much costs us in life anymore. If we can help each other out and teach each other things, I think our method of living should be, what can I do to help you? You know, what can I do to share my knowledge freely, in the hope somebody else will share something different. I just think life is so much more precious and interesting when you share what you know with others for free. And I understand people want to make a living, too. And, our little channels don't do, great money making, but I'm not here for that. I'm here to share the knowledge freely. Getting a little spending money every few months is nice, but I want to share what I know. I need to start some seeds. I just requested a park seed catalog because we were looking to see when the big flower show is, and we couldn't find it. So I said, well, I'll just order one of their seed catalogs, and it's free. But you guys, they had these seeds for some zinnias. They're called, Hidden Dragon zinnias. You should look it up at Park Seed Company. They are so stunning. They are, oh my gosh, just so beautiful. You know what? I'm doing this the wrong way is why I'm having trouble. I need the curve to be on the other side. So I need to move my pins to the other side of the fabric. But it looks like a peppermint candy. I want some. But you know what? For 50 seeds, they want nearly $6. But I'm paying for them to have come up with it. And they've got to make a living too. So I'm going to, when I get the catalog, I'm going to order a pack of those. Because I love zinnias, and the butterflies love zinnias, and they're so easy to grow. So easy to grow. But those were so pretty. My pins need to be on the side piece, not on. They need to be on the front and the back, not the side, because you can't get around your curve very well this way. So, because when you're manipulating the curve, you need to press the curve into where it needs to be flat. So see, this is the flat side. So you want to push this curve so it goes around. Oh, I'm doing it again. Hang on. So you need your curve facing you. And this is the side that's just a straight piece of fabric. So you want to push the curve into the straight and just work at it real slow like, and come at it from one side to the other, and you'll work that curve in. You might need to put what looks like a little bit of gathering into the curved piece to get it to fit into a piece that's wanting to just go straight around the other way. I'm sure it has something to do with physics and manipulation. But see, I've got a little bit here that's a little excess, and I'm just going to work a little bit of what would be a gathering stitch. So that's why I go back in my head is, why didn't they have me put a little bit of gathering? And then I could have just gathered it, but you can do it with your fingers too. I'm going to pull that pin back out because the fabric's not wanting to do what I want it to do. So when you're dealing with curves, the manipulation is really, because you want to take up this here in the curve. You don't want to end up with one of your sides longer than the other, or your front or back, whatever. You just don't want one to end up longer than the other because you want that bottom to be smooth. All right, so now we're going to go around here. And I got to attach that other side. I'll have to apologize to Janet for running over into her time. Usually I'm done quickly with projects on Mondays. Oh, and I want to do another spin out of what's left. Got the numbers here. I could just let one of y'all pick a number and the first one in. I could tell you the numbers that I have, and you guys can tell me which project to do next. And that'll give me something to do during the stitch hour this afternoon that I host on Facebook Messenger. But we don't start that until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's supposed to be just for an hour, but we end up going longer. And everybody, if you wanted to join in one day, and you don't have to knit, you don't have to crochet. It's just called the stitch hour. It was going to be a knitting group, but then I was like, oh, knitting. I almost need to be quiet to knit because I can't talk and knit. It's like walking and chewing gum. I just can't do it. So this one's going to have a couple little bubbles to get around that curve. So now I'm going to flip it this way, and I'm going to pin the other side on. So I'm going to have all these pins available to stab me. But, oh. So if everybody needs to run to Janet's, that's fine. I'll finish this up, and there's always the replay. So do you guys want to pick the next project? I'll tell you the numbers if you want to write them down, then you can just randomly pick one. So we have 12, 13, 16, 21, 8, or 19. So which one do you guys want me to do? And I'll do it. $16. All right. I'm going to take a minute and go grab it because my back is starting to feel pinched. So if I get up and move, it'll do me good. And then I can show you what I'll work on this afternoon. So Ann has picked 16, and I'll need to mark that off from here so I know 16. So we will have done 3 out of this week's 8. Because I had 8 on the wheel, and I'll have to take the 16 off the wheel. So I'm going to just take a second here to go grab that. So we'll see what I'm doing this afternoon. And then Deb said 8, but Ann beat 10. Oh, I got top chat on there. Let me see what live chat says. Nope, it was Ann with 16. Oh, yeah, I needed to move. So that's right. 16. What is 16? Oh, it's the red silky blouse. It's a simple top. I think it's got 2 pieces. So this is what I've got. And that's the fabric. It's silky red. So that one will be a quick one too. All these patterns aren't in my Trello either. So I've got to go through and take the pictures to get them listed in my Trello. So I have them. So yay, something easy. I don't know what 8 was, but I might do 8 after 16 since Deb picked it. I'm thinking it might be the dragon. So Deb, you might have picked the dragon. Let me grab it. Now I want to know. What's 8? Nope. Deb picked the teddy bear. And it's one I'll have to sew by hand. Because they use a 1/4 inch seam allowances, and it's fur, and I get a better result. So Deb, I'll do 8 next. I've even got eyeballs in there for him. So 16 and then 8. So if I finish that shirt up fast enough, I can start on the little teddy. And I keep thinking about how to display my handmade toys, like the bunny and the Benji the bear that's been crocheted, and then I've got Jeff the rabbit in his overalls. But I was thinking, what if I made like bleacher stand that could be mounted or sat somewhere, and so they'd be like my continual audience, like they could sit in the audience. I do want to make some of those little basket wall hanging baskets like this that I did that one week. That was a side project. It wasn't really part of my whips. It was something I added in, but I've drawn it up to be much bigger. So some of my critters can live in those hanging baskets on the wall too. But I thought that would be cool. Then they could all just sit and watch me work, and I'd have them there. I know watching somebody pin something is like watching paint dry, but it's got to be done. It's got to be done. And once we get these on, I do the notches and flip them right side out. We'll put one inside the other, I think is what they do. Yeah. It says prepare your contrast the same. That's what I'm doing right now. And then with wrong sides of the cover together, pin the lower edge to get together and baste it. And then you encase the edge with the bias tape and you're done. So this is a fairly easy pattern. I don't know why I threw it and set it aside, but things like that happen. A better project came along. Yeah. And I was talking about, I have another tub that I might just work into the mix and just start pulling them out. I have quilt tops out the wazoo that they're just the tops. They're just the piece tops. And I have 2 wooden quilt frames that I can do hand quilting with, or even just tying, that I picked up at the Goodwill for like $6 each. And I was thinking I'd set one of those up in the corner of the kitchen. And that could be like a project I work on a rainy day or in an evening when Scott's, learning something or relearning something so he can teach it, or grading papers or something. So, yeah, there we go. We got around that curve. And we'll come over here. The boy next door was working on his Mustang that stays in the garage most of the time this weekend. And we were laughing because every once in a while we'd hear, vroom, vroom. I was like, yeah, it's sounding good. Whether it actually runs or not, it sounds good. Oh, that's awesome, Deb. She says she finished a quilt top that she had started a year ago. Now, I have several just small tops that I was thinking either make them into wall hangings or just make them into baby quilts so that, if a niece or something has another baby or whatever, I'd have a quilt ready to go. I made a quilt for her first little boy, but I didn't make one for her second. He's already a year old, so I owe her a quilt for the second baby. She and I don't talk much, but I still like to do things for the kids. Yeah, me and my family. I think it's because I was raised by my grandmother away from my siblings that I really have to work hard to have a relationship with any of them. So I'm fortunate that the two sisters that live near me want to be around me. So they don't condemn me, and we build each other up all we can. And it's just really nice. I don't get that from my brothers. But that's okay. I wasn't raised with them, so being raised by somebody born in 1908, I have a lot of I'm different, I guess. Just different. All right. So we got that pinned, and that went together. The more curves you pin, the better they get. Let's put that out of the way. Let's finish this one. We might have enough bias tape. The question is, do we have enough thread in the bobbin to make this work? We're about to find out, because that bobbin is, ooh, yeah. I hate running out. I think running out of bobbin is the bane of anybody that sews. All right. Manipulate this a little bit. Get you guys back up. All right, we'll go a couple stitches. Well, that pin went flying. All right, so I need to sew a little lace back there. So now, if I kept on sewing and just around, I'd catch all of this. So what I need to do is lift this up, needles in the fabric, push this up under, and get this kind of smooth back out. And we'll take a few stitches. I don't know why my head keeps going. We'll take a few stitches, bitches. I don't know why my head is going there. But anyway. Oh my God. What the heck, brain? You can use a ton of pins like me, or you can just put a few pins in and make it look like magic like other people do. Save, because there's not much bobbin thread, I'm just going to sew on to the next piece here. This will save you a ton of thread. So like if you're working on a project and you just want to save on thread, use a leader ender and always sew off onto it. It'll get very hairy looking, but you will save so much thread. You would not imagine how much thread that saves you. Whoops, don't you fall. This one needs the corners turned. Trimmed. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'm just doing the cuts and taking a few wedges out here. Just like I did on that other one. Just so it'll lay flatter. And we'll do this other corner. And I'll go ahead and turn this one right side out. And then when we get done sewing this other one, we'll leave it wrong side out and shove it up inside this one. And then we'll baste the two together around the bottom and put the bias tape on, and that it's done. So I've got to do all that sewing, and I don't think what I have left on the bobbin's going to meet it. So I will switch it out to that black thread, and we'll just go with it for the bobbin when we run out. All right, so this one is ready to turn right side out. So this is the sewing machine cover. Now, if you want yours to be stiffer, you can put some interfacing on the contrast, the lining, and it'll make it more substantial. All right, so there's that. That'll be how it is on the sewing machine, right like that. It's got a piece of fabric on it. All right, so let's sew these other two seams on here and cross our fingers. We have enough thread to do it. I've got little triangles. They'll go outside on my feet. They'll be everywhere. It doesn't matter if I bring the vacuum out right now. Those triangle trims off are always travelers. I really like this light blue. The pizza place up in Travelers Rest that we used to go to sent me a coupon for my free birthday pizza. I told Scott, I said, well, we could go up to Travelers Rest and get a free pizza and go thrifting at the Goodwill up there. But I don't know that we'll do that because it's 2 hours up there. But that Goodwill is where I find fabric, because I think there's a nice sewing group up that way. Or at least somebody's grandma used to sew. I know there's a quilter up there. Checking to make sure I haven't twisted anything. Now it says to baste the two layers together, and you can hand baste or machine baste, whichever one you want to do. I don't do a ton of hand basting, but I will baste like a collar or sleeves, that kind of thing. And I am going to need my little leader ender piece that I've been using. I can figure out where it fell to. Gosh, I've been on so much longer than I thought I would be, just because of that stupid bias tape. But y'all get to see a work in progress finished. Okay, let's maneuver some of this here. Jibber jabber. Ow! The other side is poking me. It's attacking me from the other side. Okay. Stop with the needle in so I can manipulate a little bit more. My seam's a little off. Not too bad. I feel like I've got a wrinkle in it where there shouldn't be one. Oh, I just had the deepest craving for macaroni and cheese. That's what we're having for dinner. Macaroni and cheese. There it is. It's just a scrap of paper. They're called leader enders. So you put it in there and sew across, and that eats up all those long tails you normally have on there. Let's just take a little peeky and see if I messed it up. That looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. I'm going to wait and do all the cutting at the same time. So let's go around here. These projects always take me longer than I think they will. I will do a video probably on Friday, which will be part of Friday Sews, that shows the works in progress that I finished this week. And I'm including this past weekend because that's when I finished the dresses. So and if you don't know about hashtag Friday Sews, it's in the sewing community. And it's mostly for garment sewing people, but I'm sewing all sorts of stuff right now, so just trying to get those works in progress done. And then I'm also kind of participating with Sew Carol's Fabric Wheel of Fate. She's doing it to use those fabrics she's had in her stash for a while, and it forces her to come up with a plan to use them. She's made some really, really nice things out of the fabric that either she didn't want to touch or she didn't have any idea of, or why she bought it, what her original plans were. I have a bunch of fabric like that. But I'm trying to do better. Fabric Mart did offer up a sale over the weekend, and I did order 3 pieces of fabric this weekend, so I've definitely got to sew a lot more this week, so I can say, well, I sewed all of this, and now I've got pins on the wrong side of the fabric here because I forgot to turn them all the way around. This ought to be interesting. All right. But I am on a quest to tackle knits, whether it's knitting or sewing with knits. I suck at sewing with knits. I prefer wovens. They behave. They don't have a mind of their own. I just find them so much easier to work with. I think it's because that's what I've always made things out of, is cotton and things like that. Cotton fabrics. Not cotton knits. I know there's cotton knits. I don't know. Me and knits are just, we have issues. I guess we could consider 2025 my therapy year for knitting and knits. Gives me something to focus on. All right, let's lift this up and maneuver to get around the curve. Let's see if I can mess that up too bad. I just want to get around this curve. Slow and steady wins the race. Oh, I'm ending up with a big old bubble here at the corner. All right, I'm going to go with it and kind of just work this in. This pin cushion, I've got to find. I have another pin cushion there, but that's pins for knits only. They're ball pointed. So I don't want to mix the sharps in with the ball pointed pins. Oh, please don't run out of bobbin. You were so close. I'm just going to sew across the corner of this. Just enough to get this clear. All right, so now we got to clip these curves. Hi, Pam. That doesn't look too bad. Let's see if I really mess this up. No, that doesn't look too bad. All right, so I've got to cut some wedges out. Did it say to trim the seams at all? Nope, it doesn't. I'm going to cut these curves though so that they do better. Oh, I hate these scissors. They cut great on the back of the blades, but the tips are awful. And I use the tips of scissors a lot. I've got to find my gingers. I can't imagine where they got put. I've been trying to do better about every time I finish a project, I go ahead and tidy up and clean. Hey, who's digging on my chair? Who stuck their nails in my back? Is that Callie? She says, you know it is, because I'm the only one that does that to you. Why do you want to be mean to me? Huh? I clean the litter boxes. I give you food. And then you come and stab me in the back. What is that? What is that? You think mommy's getting anxious? I am a little. Scott's aunt used to say, they know. They know. And his uncle would say, what does it know? What does that cat know? It knows, she'd say. What is it now? They were so precious. They never had any kids of their own. They doted on her sister's children, Scott and his siblings. I'm cutting these out so those curves will lay nice and smooth. So this one's going to stay wrong side out, and we're just going to slide it up inside the other one. And that's where the bias tape will come in, because it'll go around the bottom edge. And then I can put it over my machine, and we can say it's done. And excuse me, I'm hoping I have enough bias tape with the one strip to get all the way around, because I'm not going to spend another hour trying to get bias tape folded with you guys. All right, so that's everything is snipped. This doesn't have a pocket. It doesn't matter which way it goes up in. So I've got this here. So I'm just going to put it so one of the sides is facing me. I've got threads here. All right. And then I'm going to take this corner here, and I'm just going to match it up over here. I'm going to shove that all up in there. Let's shove it in there. All right. Then you'll match your seams up. And I'm going to put one way and one the other, just so they'll nest together. So here. I'm going to put this one toward the side flat pieces, and this one will go toward the front or the back. And I'm just going to kind of lock them in. So the seam is between, so one goes that way, one this way, and that just locks them together. That's a term that we quilters use. Quilters use a lot. So this will go this way, this will go that way. Right. Somebody's digging at the door. Callie, wait. Excuse me. Okay. And actually, I need to turn this so it's away from me, so that I'm putting the pins in the right direction, so they're easy to pull out as I'm sewing. And this is just going to be a basting stitch. So I'm going to lengthen my stitch to a long one, just as a basting stitch to hold the layers together. And I'm going to go to the other side of this and match up these seams. On this side. In that same way. Give it a shuck down, as they say. Shuck it down in there. Now the free pattern is much more substantial pattern too. Now there is another project in here that could be fun to do together on this pattern. It's a wall organizer. And what I'll do is I'm going to go through and see if I can find a free pattern that looks similar. because I think that's something we could all use. And we could use clear vinyl so you could see what's in each of the pockets. I don't think I have any clear vinyl, but I could check at Joann's, because you wouldn't really need something too heavy duty. All right. I'm going to stick a pin in the center here between those. Oh, Callie's digging at the door. Let me let her out before she gets in trouble. I'm going to put you out there, but you're going to have to stay out there. Here you go. Have fun. Anybody new? I'm not throwing her outside. She's just out on what we call the catio. It's our porch that we've turned into a place the cats can go. They're safe. They're not running around loose. There's too many loose cats. I would never turn mine loose outside. They might get picked up by the dog catcher. I'm really surprised that somebody hasn't had the dog people out, catch all the loose cats outside that came from next door. Oh, hi, Howard. You're going to make me get up and go open the door too, aren't you? You're going to have to wait. I'm so close to being finished with this whip. Whip, whip, whip. Not whip, whip. It's a whip. All right, I'm going to pin this side where the pocket is. See, I didn't really need to stitch the bottom of that pocket. I could have left the whole bottom open because it's going to be caught in the bias binding. But that's okay. I'll get done on here. I'll get something to eat, make the bed, take my pills, medication time. So the old kidneys are protected and the diabetes is kept under control, and high blood pressure is not high blood pressure, and cholesterol, that's it. So my medicine cabinet's not worth breaking in to steal. Just warning you guys. It's just anybody that might get crazy ideas about stealing medications, because we're old people. We don't have any of the good stuff. All right. So let's baste this. I hope I have enough to go around for basting as well as sewing the last bit down. So this part we're just going to stick in here and baste around on, which I might not even make it all the way around with the basting stitch. Let's get the mega pin cushion here. Yeah, I think I'll wash this and stick it in my sister Robin's birthday bag. I don't know what I'm going to do for Rhonda's birthday, because Rhonda doesn't sew or craft or any of that. She just runs and teaches math. I guess I could look up some accessories that runners would use, and I could make her a care package or something like that. Huh. That would be interesting. Interesting to check out. Whoa. This pin pin cushion is brought to you by me not finishing projects and rebuying the same pins over and over because I couldn't find my pins because they're all in projects that I cut out that never made. So that's what, if you're looking for more of your pins, that's where they are. They're in the projects you started and never finished. Have I run out yet? Not yet. Okay. I need to make sure Deb is in the Monday Stitch Hour call list. I thought she was, but I will double check. So if you want to be part of the Messenger Monday Stitch Hour Plus, just get in contact with me and we'll get you on there. We just mainly hang out and chit chat and work on whatever we're working on. We do that on Thursday and Fridays too, but Thursday and Fridays is from 10 till whenever. Y'all stayed busy chit-chatting in there for a long time. I noticed it was still on until nearly 6 after I had left on Friday. And that's with Ann Lar. We just are using Ann's room now. The other room didn't seem to work very well, so on Fridays we're just in Ann's room again. Whoops. All right, so this is basted together, but there's no thread in the bobbin. Yeah. There's none. That thing is empty. I could wind a bobbin with what I have there. Let's see what's in here. No, I'll put that back in there. I'm just going to use the black thread that's already wound in here because I have black, white. I have this light blue. Would that match that at all? Not really. I think I'd rather go with the black thread. So the letter P, and pop it down in there and into that little groove. Hold your thread from the needle and then put it down in there, turning your wheel towards you, and boom, it's threaded. So put this back on. And then I think I'm going to do a test sew on the piece that keeps hitting the floor. And now the fun part. Thank you. We're basically, all we got to do is put bias around the bottom edge. And I'm going to try to do this in one fell swoop. Generally, I do a specific method, but I'm hoping I have enough in one strip here to go all the way around the bottom of this. If not, I'll have to make some more. Let's see. And I don't want to. Let's start it at the back here. And I'm going to try to just put it on here. Oh, cats. I probably shouldn't have cut that off, but I'm not worried about it. I'm going to try to just put it on here over the edge and pin it in place. And again, I'm going in the wrong direction. I'm really thinking I'm not going to have enough to go all the way around. You'd think this long piece would be enough, but it's not always that easy to see. Callie's ripping into the door. She said, I've changed my mind. The neighbor's chickens. And we're allowed to have 3 hens in the city limits. No roosters. And what have I been hearing in the wee hours of the morning? I'm wondering how long it'll be before they get turned into the city by one of these other neighbors. I'm just like, let them have chickens. Let them have a rooster. Roosters don't bother me. I grew up on a dairy farm. I'm used to hearing all the animals. Of course, it's been 40-something years since I lived on the farm, but I like going out and hearing the chickens do that. Like that. I think it's fun. I'm not going to have enough without doing that other piece. But I can get you guys to a point where you can see where this is going to go. What a bummer. I was hoping I could just pop this on and go, boom, we're done. We'll see how much I need. Let's see. If I only have to add one piece to get the length long enough, and I could do something fun and do like a decorative stitch on the bias tape. Just for something fun, or we could just do a straight stitch. It's pretty busy. I might just do a straight stitch. The decorative stitches take longer because it, has to move around. Sorry, I'm concentrating. I can't talk and concentrate. It's like, isn't it pretty? And it was bought probably in 1998. So this is like ancient fabric. Back then, Walmart used to have really nice fabric because it's made in the USA. Not that crap they all get now from China. Sorry. Just saying the truth. I'm speaking it. Speaking the truth. I was watching that young lady that quilts over there in the UK, and she'd made a trip to Liberty, and I was just drooling over the Liberty cottons. And she makes like mini quilts. She makes big quilts, but she makes mini quilts and projects, quilted type projects. And so she was getting just like, quarter yard of things. Oh, we might make it, you guys. We might make it. I think my sister would like this cover. I've been collecting stuff for her. So I've got it like this big. I've got some art books because Robin teaches elementary art, and I got art books, that are on specific artists like Escher and different ones I've been saving for her. And then when I couldn't find parking and I was in the new car and it was raining, it was getting dark, and I was getting so full of anxiety, I just turned and came home. I just do not do well leaving the house, I guess. Because the more I'm at home, the more I like to just stay here. I like chit-chatting with everybody on the internet, but I think I'm going to have enough. Oh, this pleases me. To no end. And then I can pop over and apologize to Janet for being on so long. I was watching her video with the little fairies she draws, and it was so cute. I told her her basket had crochet and tea, and that she should be the yarn fairy, and she could hand out yarn to all of us. Our yarn wishes fulfilled. So this afternoon, I'll work on that red blouse, or I might have the red blouse finished before I even get to the stitch hour this afternoon. We'll see. Now, I know there's a way to finish the bias by sewing a 45-degree angle, but I'm just going to sew it down. I'm not going to try to make it continuous right now because I want to get finished and get off here. So there is a way to keep it going so you don't have that big bubble right here. You can do like a 45-degree angle and it just would continue on. And I've saved how to do it. It was a reel popped up and I know how to, if I had the video in front of me, I could do it. But for right now, I'm just going to do this the bad way, the way you're not supposed to do it. I'm going to cut it. And then I'm going to fold the end under like so. Howard, what are you doing? I saw you knock that box over. You did. That iron is on. Stay down. No. All right. So let me turn the iron off because Howard's insisting. Look, we got that much bias tape left. It's about a foot. Honey, I don't want you on the wool. Hang on. He's insisting he wants to jump up there. Now, if you get on this iron, it's turned off, but it's still hot. And yes, Ann, I'm talking to the cats like they're human. Nobody. All right. So we need to sew over this. Let's get over here. And it's going to have black thread toward the inside of the cover. But I'm sure my sister won't care at all. Where's my chopstick? Just gonna push this down here. All right. Now the fun part. Trying to keep it so that I'm catching both layers of bias, which I never am able to do very well. Somebody sneezed. I need to take my cats in for their checkups. Checkups and shots all around. I don't take them very often because they're indoor cats, but they've been sneezing, and I don't know if it's allergies or if they've caught something. I don't want anything to happen to them. I'm hoping I'm catching all the layers. I guess guess I could peek and see if I am. And you know what? I didn't change the stitch length, so I'm doing a long stitch, but it'll be all right. All right, let's pull this here. Oh dear. Cheapest tool I have, a chopstick. It's that unruly bias. Lay down. We're getting around. We're almost finished. Thank you guys for hanging out with me for so long. And that's why I don't do very many sewing, because it does take time to do this stuff. And I don't know how many people want to just hang out for 4 hours. Three and a half, 4 hours. You could alleviate the bias tape just by leaving a small opening in your lining and just sew this with the right sides, the right ways together, and then turn it right side out and shove the lining back up in after you've turned it right side out. And then top stitch. But I think the bias will give a nice finish to the edge. I'm just hoping I've caught the back side of it. Don't you get that pin cushion, Howard. It'll bite back. All right, we're coming up on the leader ender, so I know I'm almost to the ground, and then I have to check and make sure I've caught it everywhere. If I haven't, I'll just hand stitch it wherever I might have missed. Howard's trying to get my foot bath pulled out of its box. That's something I need to do yet today. Soak my feet. I would prefer to sit in the bathtub, but we know why that can't happen. Anyway. All right. All right. So there's that. All right. So we'll just put it on my machine right here so you guys can see it finished, and it just kind of goes over the top. There we go. And it's got a little pocket here so you could like put your scissors in there, all that stuff. So ta-da! That is the sewing machine cover. And again, if you put some interfacing, they did not call for that in this pattern, but if you put interfacing like even a fusible single side fleece or batting on the lining pieces, the underside color, this would be a lot firmer. It would like stand up. Again, it is reversible. So if you don't like it that way, just turn it over. This will give me a chance to look at the, looks like I got it all. That's good. So if you wanted just a plain cover, just turn it over. And I think that's why they had you put a pocket on the inside. So there you go. So there's the plain one. All right. So there you go. You can have a calm, flowery side or a wild, quilty side. Yep, another one ticked off. And so now I'll actually have to change the needle again, but I haven't used this sewing machine needle, enough to throw it into the use. So I'll put it in my pin cushion that's inside my sewing box, because that red is a silky, and I will need to use like a size 9 needle, and I'll need to wind a red no, I've got red in here, so I'll have to reset the machine up. So anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I hope you found that interesting, and I'm sorry it took me so long to do the bias tape. See you guys in the next one. Thank you. Bye.